There is someone in your life right now who once walked away with absolute certainty. They were convinced they were making the right choice. They believed they had control. They thought they could find something better, something easier, something that didn't challenge them the way your connection did. And God watched. God waited, because divine timing doesn't operate on human impatience. And now, in this very moment, as you watch these words appear before you, that person is beginning to understand what they lost, not through your words, not through your pain, but through the brutal, undeniable collapse of everything they chose instead of you. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about satisfaction. This is about divine justice unfolding in ways you couldn't have orchestrated even if you tried. And what's happening to them right now is something you need to understand, because God is revealing it to you for a reason. So before you scroll away, before you dismiss this as just another message, I need you to stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change how you see everything that happened between you and this person, and it will finally give you the peace you've been searching for. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in their world right now. That person who left so confidently, who seemed so sure that they were making an upgrade, who may have even told you that you weren't enough, is sitting in a reality they no longer recognize. The relationship they chose, the life they built, the person they thought would complete them in ways you never could. It's all crumbling. And here's what makes this so profound. They can't even explain why. On paper, everything might look fine. They might still be with that other person. They might have the job, the house, the life they thought they wanted. But inside, there's a hollowness that won't go away. There's a voice that keeps whispering that something is fundamentally wrong. And that voice, whether they know it or not, is God speaking directly into their consciousness. Because when you walk away from a divine connection, when you reject something that was orchestrated by forces beyond your understanding, the universe doesn't let you just move on peacefully. It creates a dissonance so powerful that no amount of distraction can silence it. What they're experiencing isn't just regret. Regret is surface level. Regret is, I wish I had done things differently. What's happening to them is a complete existential collapse. They wake up in the middle of the night with your name on their lips. They see you in strangers on the street. They hear your voice in songs they've never heard before. Their new partner says something, and suddenly they're comparing it to how you would have said it, how you would have made them feel, how deeply you understood parts of them that this new person will never even see. And they can't turn it off. They can't logic their way out of it, because this isn't coming from their mind, it's coming from their soul, and the soul doesn't forget divine assignments. The soul doesn't let you pretend that what you had was ordinary. And right now, their soul is screaming at them that they made a catastrophic mistake. But here's where it gets even deeper. This collapse they're experiencing isn't random chaos. It's precisely designed. Every single thing that's falling apart in their life right now is directly connected to the choice they made to leave you. That relationship that seemed so promising, it's revealing itself to be shallow, unfulfilling, built on all the wrong foundations. That career move they made that seemed so important, it's leaving them empty because they're realizing that success without genuine connection is just decorated loneliness. Those friends who supported their decision to leave you, they're nowhere to be found now that things are hard. And in the silence of their isolation, they're being forced to confront a truth they've been running from, that what they had with you wasn't just special, it was sacred. And you don't walk away from the sacred without consequences. God is holding up a mirror to this person, and they cannot look away. Every choice they made after leaving you is being reflected back to them with brutal clarity. They thought they wanted freedom, but they got loneliness. They thought they wanted excitement, but they got instability. They thought they wanted someone easier, but they got someone who doesn't challenge them to grow, who doesn't see them the way you did, who doesn't love them with the depth and authenticity that you offered. And perhaps most painfully, They're realizing that the very things they criticized you for, the very reasons they claimed they had to leave, were actually the things they needed most. Your intensity, they needed someone who loved that hard. Your expectations, they needed someone who believed they could be better. Your depth, they needed someone who wasn't afraid to explore the shadows with them. The collapse they're experiencing is God's way of showing them that you weren't the problem. They were, but they couldn't see it then because they weren't ready. They weren't spiritually mature enough to recognize a divine connection when it was standing right in front of them. They were operating from ego, from fear, from wounds they hadn't healed yet. And so they ran. They chose the familiar over the transformative. They chose the easy over the eternal. And now, God is dismantling every false comfort they built in your absence. Not to punish them, but to wake them up. Because sometimes the only way to recognize light is to sit in darkness long enough that you can't deny the difference anymore. And here's what you need to understand. This collapse is not about you trying to get them back. This collapse is not about them suffering so you can feel vindicated. This collapse is about divine order being restored. When two souls are meant to be connected, when God has ordained a union, when a relationship carries a purpose beyond just personal happiness, the universe will not allow one person to simply walk away and find peace in the wrong direction. It will pursue them. It will unsettle them. It will dismantle every false foundation until they have no choice but to face the truth. And the truth they're facing right now is that they walked away from something they will never find again. Not because you're perfect, but because what you shared was designed by God, and you don't replace divine design with human substitutes. Let me tell you what their days look like now. They go through the motions, but nothing feels real. They smile, but it doesn't reach their eyes. They hold conversations, but they're somewhere else entirely. They're haunted by memories they can't shake. That night you stayed up talking until dawn about your dreams and fears, the way you looked at them like they were the only person in the world who mattered, the inside jokes no one else would understand, the comfort of your presence when everything else was chaos. And now, with the person they chose instead of you, there's none of that. There's surface pleasantness maybe, there's physical presence maybe, but there's no soul connection, there's no depth, there's no feeling of coming home, and that absence is destroying them in ways they didn't know were possible. They try to fill the void. They throw themselves into work, into hobbies, into social activities. They might even try to convince themselves that they're happy, that they made the right choice, that what they have now is better because it's easier. But late at night, when all the distractions fade and they're alone with their thoughts, the truth crashes over them like a tidal wave. And that truth is simple and devastating. They had something real, and they traded it for something fake. They had someone who saw them, truly saw them, and they traded that for someone who only sees a version they're performing. They had love that was willing to grow through difficulty, and they traded it for comfort that can't survive the slightest storm. And the worst part, they can't even talk about it. Who would understand? Their friends supported the breakup. Their family probably approved of them moving on. The person they're with now would be devastated to know how deeply they're thinking about you. So, they carry it alone. They carry the weight of their mistake in silence, and it's crushing them. They scroll through old photos when no one's looking. They type out messages to you and delete them before sending. They dream about you and wake up with tears on their pillow. And every single day, the gap between where they are and where they want to be grows wider, because they're learning something fundamental about divine connections. Once you've experienced real soul-level love, everything else feels like a cheap imitation, and they're drowning in imitations, desperately trying to remember what real felt like. But here's what God wants you to understand through all of this. This isn't happening so you can gloat. This isn't happening so you can feel superior. This isn't even happening so they can come crawling back to you. This is happening because there are lessons that can only be learned through loss. There are truths that can only be understood through pain. And sometimes God has to let someone experience the full weight of their choices before they can be transformed into the person they're meant to become. This person had to leave to understand what staying meant. They had to lose you to comprehend what having you was worth. They had to try to replace you to discover that you're irreplaceable. And while that process is excruciating for them, it's necessary. Because God doesn't just want them back in your life as the same person who left. God is recreating them through this collapse. God is burning away every part of them that wasn't ready for what you offered. God is humbling them, breaking them, reshaping them into someone who could actually honor a divine connection if they were ever given another chance. And for you, this revelation serves a different purpose entirely. It's not about getting closure through their suffering. It's about understanding that their leaving had nothing to do with your worth. You didn't fail. You weren't inadequate. You weren't too much or not enough. They simply weren't ready. They weren't spiritually aligned yet. They were operating from a level of consciousness that couldn't comprehend what was being offered. And so they did what people do when they encounter something that threatens to transform them before they're ready. They ran. They self-sabotaged. They chose the familiar prison over the unfamiliar freedom. And now the universe is teaching them why that was a mistake, not to torture them, but to elevate them. Because if this connection is truly meant to be, they have to earn their way back to it. They have to become worthy of it, and that requires a complete dismantling of who they were when they left. God is revealing this to you now for several reasons. First, to release you from any lingering doubt about your value. You need to know deep in your soul that what happened wasn't about you being lacking. It was about them not being ready. Second, to help you understand that divine timing is perfect even when it's painful. Everything that's unfolding right now, both in your life and theirs, is exactly as it should be. You're growing in your own journey. They're collapsing in theirs. And both processes are necessary for whatever comes next. Third, to prepare you for the possibility that they might try to return. Because when the collapse becomes unbearable, when they've lost everything they thought they wanted, when they've exhausted every attempt to find what they had with you somewhere else, they will remember you, and they will want to come back. But you need to be clear about something crucial. Just because they want to return doesn't mean you have to accept them. Just because God is showing you their pain doesn't mean God is telling you to rescue them from it. Your journey right now is about your own transformation, not theirs. While they're collapsing, you're meant to be rising. While they're realizing what they lost, you're meant to be discovering who you are without them. While they're drowning in regret, you're meant to be swimming in new possibilities. God is not showing you their pain, so you'll feel obligated to end it. God is showing you their pain, so you'll understand that the universe holds people accountable for how they treat divine connections. So you'll trust that justice exists, even when you can't see it. So you'll know that walking away from you wasn't as easy or consequence-free as it may have appeared. And so you'll have peace. Deep, genuine, soul-level peace that comes from knowing that what was meant for you cannot be taken from you, and what wasn't meant for you cannot be forced to stay. If this person comes back, and there's a genuine chance they will, you'll know. You'll feel it in your spirit. God will give you clarity about whether their return is part of your divine path or just another lesson you need to learn about boundaries and self-worth. Because here's the truth they don't tell you in fairy tales. Sometimes the person who left has to stay gone. Sometimes the collapse they experience is meant to redirect them toward a completely different path, not back to you. Sometimes God shows you their suffering, not to prepare you for reconciliation, but to confirm that your season with them is over, and you can finally, fully move on. And that's okay. That's not a tragedy. That's divine wisdom protecting you from recycling a connection that already served its purpose. But if they do come back, if they've truly been transformed by their collapse, if they've done the inner work and spiritual growth necessary to honor what you offered the first time, then you'll have a choice to make. And that choice should never be made from a place of ego or revenge. It should never be made from, "I told you so," or "now you see what you lost." It should be made from a place of genuine discernment. Does this person now match your frequency? Have they elevated to where you are? Are they capable of meeting you in the depth and authenticity that you require? Because you've grown too. While they were collapsing, you were evolving. While they were learning hard lessons, you were becoming a stronger version of yourself. And the you that they left is not the you that they would be coming back to. So the question isn't just whether they're ready for you now. The question is whether you still want them, and this is where your power truly lies, in the knowing, in the discernment, in the unshakable understanding that you are not a backup plan, a safety net, or a consolation prize. You are a divine being with a divine purpose, and anyone who wants to be in your life has to earn that privilege through authentic transformation and genuine respect. The collapse they're experiencing should humble them. It should make them understand that walking away from you was the biggest mistake of their life. But humility and understanding aren't enough. You need to see changed behavior. You need to see consistent effort. You need to see someone who has done the deep inner work to heal whatever caused them to leave in the first place. Because if they haven't healed those wounds, if they haven't addressed those patterns, if they haven't truly evolved beyond who they were, then taking them back is just signing up for the same pain in a different season. God is teaching you discernment through this entire experience. You're learning to recognize the difference between someone who misses you and someone who has truly changed. You're learning to distinguish between someone who's lonely and someone who's ready. You're learning that love, real love, divine love, requires more than just feelings. It requires alignment, it requires readiness, it requires two people who are both committed to honoring something bigger than themselves. And if that alignment isn't there, if that readiness isn't present on both sides, then it doesn't matter how much they say they've changed or how sorry they are. It doesn't matter how much they're suffering in their collapse. Your peace, your growth, your divine path has to come first, always. So as you process this revelation, as you sit with the knowledge of what this person is experiencing right now, I want you to do something powerful. I want you to release them completely. Not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with genuine compassion and genuine freedom. Release them to their collapse, knowing that it's exactly what they need. Release them to their lessons, trusting that God is handling them. Release them to their journey, understanding that it may or may not intersect with yours again, and in that release, claim your own freedom, claim your own growth, claim your own divine path forward, because you don't need their collapse to validate your worth. You don't need their regret to prove you were right. You don't need them to come crawling back to know that you're valuable. You already are. You always were, and you always will be. What you do need is to keep walking forward in your own transformation. While they're experiencing their collapse, you're meant to be experiencing your emergence. You're meant to be discovering strengths you didn't know you had. You're meant to be opening doors you didn't know existed. You're meant to be connecting with people who see your value immediately and don't need to lose you to appreciate you. You're meant to be building a life so full, so rich, so aligned with your purpose that whether this person comes back or not becomes almost irrelevant. Because you'll have grown into someone who understands that no single person, no matter how connected you felt to them, holds the key to your happiness or fulfillment. Only you hold that key. Only God holds that key. And the more you step into that truth, the more powerful you become. This is your season of reclamation. You're reclaiming your power from every person who made you question your worth. You're reclaiming your joy from every situation that tried to dim your light. You're reclaiming your faith from every disappointment that made you doubt divine timing. And you're reclaiming your future from every fear that tried to convince you that you'll never find love like that again. Because the truth is, you will. If that person is meant to return as a transformed version of themselves, they will. And if they're not, someone better will come. someone who doesn't need to lose you to value you, someone who sees the divine in you from day one and treats you accordingly, someone who matches your frequency naturally without needing a catastrophic collapse to wake them up to what they have. And that person, whether it's the one who left or someone entirely new, will be worth the wait, will be worth the pain, will be worth every tear you cried and every night you spent wondering if you'd ever feel that kind of connection again. But here's what makes this moment so crucial. You're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to obsessing over this person's collapse, checking up on them, hoping they're suffering, fantasizing about them begging for you back, keeping yourself energetically tied to their journey. The other path leads to complete internal freedom. It leads to you focusing so fully on your own growth, your own healing, your own divine assignments, that their collapse becomes background noise in the symphony of your transformation. And I'm here to tell you that the second path is where your power lives. The second path is where your miracles are waiting. The second path is where God can actually do the work in your life that needs to be done. Because as long as you're focused on their pain, you're not available for your own elevation. As long as you're monitoring their collapse, you're not fully present in your own emergence. So here's what I want you to take from this message. This person is experiencing exactly what they need to experience right now. Their collapse is not your responsibility to fix or celebrate. It simply is, and it's serving a divine purpose in their journey, just as your growth is serving a divine purpose in yours. God is revealing this to you, not to keep you stuck in the past, but to set you free from any lingering questions about why it ended the way it did. You now know. They weren't ready, and their unreadiness is catching up with them in ways that no human strategy could have orchestrated. That's divine justice. That's universal law. That's what happens when you walk away from something sacred before you're capable of honoring it. And while part of you might feel satisfaction knowing they're struggling, the highest version of you, the version God is calling you to become, can hold space for their pain without needing it to validate you. Because the ultimate truth is this: divine connections are never truly lost. If what you had with this person was real, if it carried genuine soul purpose, if it was orchestrated by forces beyond human understanding, then it will come back around when the timing is right. And that timing might be tomorrow, next year, or 10 years from now, or it might be never in this lifetime. And all of those outcomes are perfect. All of those outcomes serve the highest good. All of those outcomes are guided by a wisdom that sees beyond your human perspective and knows exactly what you need, when you need it, and how to deliver it in ways that serve your ultimate evolution. Your job isn't to control the outcome. Your job isn't to manipulate the timing. Your job is to trust the process, honor your own journey, and stay open to whatever God is bringing into your life next. And whatever that is, it will be magnificent, it will be aligned, it will be worth every moment you spent feeling lost or alone, or questioning if you'd ever experience deep connection again, because you are being prepared for something extraordinary. Every heartbreak is teaching you what to look for. Every disappointment is sharpening your discernment. Every night you spent crying is strengthening your capacity to hold joy when it finally arrives. You're not being punished, you're being refined. You're not being overlooked, you're being prepared. And the version of you that's emerging from this fire is going to be unstoppable, so powerful in your knowing, so clear in your worth, so aligned with your purpose that anyone who enters your life from this point forward will have to rise to meet you or reveal themselves quickly as not meant for your path. This person's collapse is their wake-up call, but your emergence is your confirmation. Confirmation that God never abandoned you. Confirmation that divine timing was working in your favor even when it felt like everything was falling apart. Confirmation that you are exactly where you're meant to be, learning exactly what you're meant to learn, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. And from this place of knowing, you can finally release the story. You can finally release the pain. You can finally release the need to understand every detail of why they made the choices they made. because it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you're free, free to love yourself fully, free to build a life that reflects your highest values, free to attract connections that honor your divine essence from the very beginning. And that freedom, that soul-deep freedom, is worth more than any relationship that required you to shrink, doubt yourself, or wonder if you were enough. So as this message comes to a close, I want you to take a moment right now. Place your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and speak this truth into existence. I am worthy of love that sees me, chooses me, and stays. I am worthy of connections that honor my depth and match my frequency. I am worthy of a love story that doesn't require me to lose myself to prove my value. And I trust that everything unfolding right now, both in my life and in the life of those who walked away, is serving my highest good and guiding me toward my divine destiny. Say it again. Feel it in your bones. Let it settle into every cell of your being, because this is your truth, this is your power, this is your path forward. The person who left is experiencing their collapse, but you are experiencing your resurrection. You are rising from the ashes of what broke you into a version of yourself that cannot be broken. You are stepping into a level of self-love and divine alignment that will change everything about how you move through the world. And yes, they may come back. They may knock on your door with tears in their eyes and transformation in their soul. And if they do, you'll know exactly what to do, because by then you'll be so rooted in your own worth, so clear about what you deserve, so aligned with your purpose that the decision will be obvious. Either they've become someone who can walk beside you in this new chapter, or they haven't. Either they're ready to honor what they couldn't before, or they're not. And either way, you'll be okay. More than okay, you'll be thriving, because this was never about them. It was always about you. You discovering your strength, you uncovering your resilience, you stepping fully into the truth of who you are and what you're capable of. And now that you know what they're experiencing, now that you understand the divine justice unfolding in their life, you can turn your attention fully to what God is doing in yours. You can focus on the doors opening instead of the ones that close. You can invest in the connections that are showing up instead of the ones that walked away. You can build a future so beautiful, so fulfilling, so aligned with your soul's purpose that looking back at this pain will feel like looking at a different lifetime. Because in a way it will be the you that they knew, the you that they hurt, the you that wondered if you'd ever heal. That version is dying, and the you that's emerging from this fire is eternal. So let them experience their collapse. Let the universe do its work. Let divine justice unfold in ways that remind you that you're protected, valued, and deeply loved by forces you can't even fully comprehend. And while they're learning their lessons, you keep learning yours. Keep growing, keep healing, keep becoming, keep opening your heart, not to them necessarily, but to life, to possibility, to the magic that's waiting just beyond this chapter. Because your story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. And the chapters ahead are going to be so incredible, so unexpected, so filled with love and purpose and joy, that you'll understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. You'll understand why they had to leave. You'll understand why you had to hurt, and you'll be grateful, not for the pain, but for what it revealed, for who it made you, for the person you're becoming. And that person, my friend, is absolutely unstoppable. That person is divinely protected. And that person is about to experience a love story so beautiful it will make everything before it look like practice. Trust that, believe that, and most importantly, become that. The rest will take care of itself. If this message resonated with you, if it touched something deep within your soul that you've been afraid to acknowledge, I need you to do something important. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment sharing your own journey of healing and transformation. Hit that like button to let the universe know you're ready to step into your power. and subscribe to this channel because we're building a community of souls who refuse to settle, who believe in divine timing, and who are committed to becoming the highest version of themselves. You're not here by accident. This message found you for a reason, and whatever you're going through right now, know that you're not alone. You're supported, you're guided, and you're about to witness miracles in your life that will leave you breathless. Stay connected, stay strong, and remember, your emergence is just beginning.